Hello, friends. Today I'd like to speak about an idea that came to me recently when we were going through a closet that needed a little bit of space added to it, too much stuff jammed in there. And it struck me. We tend to be excited about the things that arrive in our lives. So, the new TV or the new phone, the new couch, the new whatever, the new thing that comes into our, the new car, maybe the new house even, the new relationship, the new baby, all of those things are the new job. It's all very exciting when something new comes into our life. But interestingly, we sort of have an equally challenged relationship with the worn out, the old, the yesterday, the stuff that needs to move on from our lives. And it strikes me that it kind of parallels our worship, at least in the West anyway, our worship of youth and our kind of similarly lack of interest in elderly or old age. And so I wanted to suggest a challenge, and this is not going to be a 1 minute challenge like I've done in other videos, but rather just something to meditate on in the course of perhaps days, weeks, even years, that we try to strike a balance in our lives because it's easy to accumulate. We're especially in the West, we're a culture that kind of enjoys consuming. We enjoy buying and receiving, and at some point it just gets to be too much. At some point the possessions begin to sort of possess us, and that's just not helpful. I have read, and I have reason to believe, actually, from my own experience, that the most valuable experiences that we have in life are experiences themselves, experiential steps that we take in life, as opposed to the things that we bring into our life. They, yes, it's very exciting to get a new car or a new house or something. It's a big step, moving into a new place. It's a big deal. It's very exciting for a little while, for a few months, to be fair. Often those things kind of follow a little bell curve, and there's a period of maybe 2 to 6 months where we're still elated by that new thing. And then the kind of euphoria passes, the novelty of it, the excitement of it has gone, and then life kind of resumes its plane of existence again. Whereas when we travel, when we have an experience, and I don't mean just travel, I mean that's an example of this, where we go out of country or we go into a situation that is completely new. We meet new people, we communicate, we make new friends, we connect on a deeper level experientially. Those kinds of things stay with us because we remember them. We remember them fondly. And it's just important to create balance in our lives, create a balance between what is coming into our life and what is going out of our life so that it doesn't just accumulate. There's a cute phrase that I just learned recently. It's called gaining the COVID-19. The coronavirus named COVID-19, but gaining the COVID-19 means you've packed on 19 pounds during this, quarantine, sheltering in place, social distancing, whatever, however you want to think of it. And I suppose there are people who have packed on 19 pounds or whatever, even if it's just 5 pounds in 6 months, it does add up after a while. And it's easy for the waistline to bulge. I know because I've had this experience myself. I've lost around 40 pounds in the last, I don't know, 5, 6 years, and mostly in the last 2 or 3. And it's a lot easier to put them on than it is to take them off. And yet we have to find that balance, or we create dis-ease, we create ill health, we create the sense that it's the things of our lives that are the most important, when in fact it's the people and it's the experiences with people, it's the shared growth, it's the shared challenge, it's the shared adventure that we really cherish on an inward level. So I suggest to all of us that we examine the things of our lives carefully. And I think most of you would know this already, but I'll just articulate it. We do not suggest poverty. We do not suggest an abject level of um, non-possession. Rather, we suggest simplicity, which is to say a clean, relaxed heart around the stuff of our lives so that it doesn't hold on to us, it doesn't possess us. You know, recently there has been the threat of evacuation here in California because of fires. And, you know, a number of places, even significant areas and significant cities have had to evacuate. And you know, that having that threat sort of hanging over your head means you have to do some preparation. You have to think about, gosh, if I had to evacuate, what would I bring? If I had to sort of reboot my life from scratch, what would I want with me? You can't take the whole house with you. I mean, unless you have moving vans and, you know, a huge place to store all of it. And even so, would you really want to do that? If that's what life is delivering, would you be that attached to the things of your life that you couldn't restart in some other way? It's so easy. You know, we've witnessed there have been tornadoes in the Midwest. I grew up in the Midwest. I remember tornadoes, and sometimes they would hit one neighborhood over from us. You know, I remember the neighborhood adjacent to us, not a mile away from us, had houses with the roofs torn off of them from a tornado. I mean, it was terrifying. And, you know, hurricanes down in the southeast and on the east coast sometimes, and windstorms, flooding, freezing, snowing, you know, ice storms. Here in the west, we get fires, we get earthquakes occasionally. Flooding can happen here in California as well in the wintertime. It's easy to dismiss the sufferings of others because it's someplace else and it's somebody else's problem. You know, oh, they lost their home, they lost their neighborhood, whatever. You know, their homes got condemned because of all the flooding, and you know, now that the floodwaters have receded, it's just a big stinky mess. It's easy to say, oh, well, that's somebody else. Well, what if it was us? What if we had to deal with that? Then then it becomes very personal, and we have to think, ay, 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 ay. Let's prepare, not out of fear, but as an exercise to create balance. At least let us balance the arrivals and the departures so that we're not accumulating and accumulating to the point where it just starts to become gridlock. I've watched this happen, and it's a good exercise to just, if something's going to come in, try to see to it that something that's used up or past its date or is no longer bringing joy into your life, move it on and find a new home for it. Because otherwise, that sense of attachment just binds us to this world. And then we're not ready to fly when the time comes to go into the light. And I don't mean in death, I just mean in higher consciousness and meditation. So I suggest that challenge, and this is definitely more than a 1 minute challenge, but find some time in your meditation to try to release the things of your life, at least in terms of attachment. It's perfectly fine to own them, but don't let them own you. And I think what you'll find is that there is great peace in that process.